Brad Werner, as I said, and I'm the first of a few dads who are going to get up and share a reflection about fatherhood. My reflection today is a bit brief, which I hope will feel fitting by the end. I'm a father of one. My daughter, Kennedy Ann, who you all just met at Storytime, is 2.5 years old now. And when I offered to give a reflection about fatherhood, I struggled to find the time that I thought was appropriate to sit down and properly reflect. Between a family vacation in early June and everybody getting sick right after, we were stretched pretty thin. But the thing is, this is actually the norm about being a parent, because the requirements of being a parent are tremendous. They are constant, they are time-consuming, and they don't really wait for you to be ready. There's always something to do, someone needs something, and something needs cleaning, fixing, or planning. I think one thing that I've learned so far is that fatherhood changes your relationship with time. Before becoming a parent, I felt like time was something that I owned, and now it feels like time owns me. Because of that, one of my favorite things as a father is checking things off of a to-do list. Mowing the lawn, sweeping the driveway, going to the bank, getting the oil changed, or grocery shopping, or paying bills. Each task checked off feels like a breath of fresh air. It feels productive, it feels responsible, it feels like I'm contributing to my family in a tangible way. And of course, that stuff really matters. Families need those things, and homes don't run themselves. I've learned that love is work, love is action. But I've also started to realize that there's a danger in measuring the worth of a day by what got done. Recently, we were in Sycamore, Illinois, nearby, and my daughter was playing at a park and pushing Kennedy on a swing. I remembered standing there, going back and forth for a long time. And I felt this strange tension in my mind, because while we were there, no tasks were getting completed. The grass was growing taller, bills were adding up, and my to-do list was collecting dust. There was no visible progress being made towards an objective. And I caught myself almost feeling restless because of that. But then I looked down and saw Kennedy's huge smile. She was completely in the moment and trusting me to be there with her. To her, this wasn't the thing keeping me from important work. It was the important work. And I think that's one of the great invitations of fatherhood. Prompts you to reassess your priorities, forces you to ask questions about what actually matters. The to-do list never ends, but childhood does. These moments are temporary, and they're going by faster than I'm ready for. Part of what I appreciate about our group here at UUSG and our shared values is the idea of not simply going through the motions of life, not being among the walking dead, as Reverend Allen has said, and just moving from one obligation to the next without waking up to life and what's actually happening, or the needs of those around you. Fatherhood for me has been one of those wake-up calls. It's been an opportunity to be reminded daily and often inconveniently that the most meaningful parts of life are the ones that are least measurable. They can't be checked off, they don't always produce anything tangible, whether it's play or just the gift of your time. So my reflection is that fatherhood can open you to hear the wake-up call of life, recognize the things that truly matter, and to be present for them while they're here. Thank you.
When Reverend Allen first asked me to share some words this Father's Day, I reflexively said yes. Only afterwards did I realize I had no idea what I would share, primarily because UUSG is full of fathers and mothers who are far more experienced than me. Many of you are grandparents too, which means you've lapped me, so I don't know what I could add that you haven't already heard or thought of. Even so, I decided what I would do is share some wisdom of others, 3 phrases that I've heard or read about that keep coming back to me on my parenting journey. These ideas bounce around in my head on a regular basis. Maybe you'll find them interesting too. The first phrase is from a song by Brandi Carlile, one of my favorite musicians. The words are from the song "The Mother," which she wrote about her young daughter. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing them. Oh, man. I know. Quote, "The first things that she took from me were selfishness and sleep. She broke 1,000 heirlooms I was never meant to keep." The rest of the song is great, but I always come back to those first two lines. That first one's pretty self-explanatory. Selfishness and sleep are the first two things to go when you have a child. That and any discomfort you might have with bodily fluids, that goes right out. But the second line is one that I found to be sort of a mantra. She broke 1,000 heirlooms I was never meant to keep. Children break a lot of things, of course. They break physical things, those literal heirlooms. They break your home, they break your stuff, they break their toys. They put distractions in your life that derail your plans. They break those too. And that can be pretty frustrating for me. I often try to pause whenever something is just broken, or when it soon may break, something or maybe some plan, and try to remember that this perhaps was one of those things I was never meant to keep. So I get so bent out of shape about it. It helps give me perspective to frame something as a loss fated or preordained. This doesn't always work. My children, one of which is here, will tell you that I do lose my cool. I raise my voice. I frequently utter idle threats that I have to walk back come morning. I remain a work in progress. And by that I mean I'm not a perfect father. And at the end of some days I look back and I'm honestly not sure that I was even a decent one. In fact, my son told me the other day that I was actually, quote, the worst father in the world. But breaking news, I got a handwritten card this morning from my daughter that said I was, quote, the best father in the world. So I'm getting mixed messages. Regardless, it leads me to my second line that I wanted to share that I reflect on. It was written by the author Patrick Rothfuss. It was part of a dedication that he wrote for his children. Quote, "You deserve a perfect father, but I'm glad you have me instead. I love my children. I love watching them grow. They're honest, they're smart, they're energetic people, and I often feel that I'm letting them down by not having enough energy or patience to keep up with them in their curiosity. I can't help thinking that there's something more I should be doing, even as I feel blessed to spend the time with them that I have. One thing that my children, Anna, may not realize is that this is the first time I've ever been a parent. And while I've read countless books about parenting, none have been a user's manual for my family or for any of my particular children. My wife and I are building this plane in the air, so to speak. Now, one thing this whole parenting experience has allowed me to do is to recontextualize my own childhood. My parents were probably making it up as they went along, too. They weren't perfect either, but I honestly don't see how they could have done any better. And I hope that I'm giving my children at least as good as I got. And speaking of my parents, this last quote comes from my father. I asked him once, years ago, what his number one piece of fatherly advice was, and he shared the following, quote, "Remember that your children are just little people. They have opinions and desires just as strong and valid as your own." Dad's advice seems obvious in retrospect. Of course, my children have opinions and desires. Sometimes I can't get a word in as they express them. But what he meant is that I had to treat them with the same respect that I would treat an adult. I can't just tell them to do a thing because I said so, because that's how I would do it, because that's how we've always done it. I have to explain why we're doing things a certain way. I should remind you that reasoning with children doesn't always work. But what I've found is that in talking through the why, it helps clarify my own thinking. It turns out that I am far from the rational creature I think of myself as. My children often poke holes in my motivations, or they challenge me on my inconsistencies. This experience of explaining helps me be more honest and less selfish. And the last thing that they, being little people, has brought into my lives are their interests: softball, baseball, music, art, performance, farming, race car driving, just to name a few. These are pastimes that are new to me. Some are those I've left behind, and some are things I've always enjoyed. And it's such a pleasure to share their passions with them now. Parenting is a challenge, at least for me it is. And these 3 quotes are just a few that I've found that have helped me work my way through. They may not be profound, but I found them when I needed them. Brandy reminds me to accept loss and setbacks gracefully. Pat's dedication reassures me that while I'm not perfect, my love and presence are enough for them and for me. My father's words have become a bedrock principle in my parenting. I'm sure all of you have similar pieces of wisdom that have helped shape how you approach your life or helped you develop into who you are today, and I'd love to hear them sometime. So this Father's Day, I encourage you to go listen to some Brandy Carlisle, go read some Patrick Rothfuss, and give my dad a call. He said I could give you his number. I'm probably going to do all 3. So thank you, and happy Father's Day.
Fatherhood, Father's Day, parenting. Any one of these is a huge topic, and I could easily get swallowed up in attempting to really explore any of them. But neither you nor I had that kind of time today. I find myself in an interesting middle ground. I've done the little kid thing, and we're wrapping up elementary school with the girls. But we're not to high school yet, with all of its potential drama. Middle school, middle space, chaos, embodied in the complicated changes happening inside every single person that my kids are going to be interacting with on a daily basis and within themselves. We started talking a bit about it, always to the discomfiture of my children, who would much rather let life stay exactly as it is on our best days. Sounds good to me. I've been a public school teacher and a parent, and I've seen firsthand the degradation of public education and the social consciousness. While I can't directly do a lot to fix either of those, I've decided that, like I do with my yard, I'm going to do what I can to make the small part of this world over which I have any influence into a better place. There's a book that was recommended to me once. I'm pretty sure that the recommendation came from my brother-in-law, but at this point I'm not really all that certain. The book is entitled How to Raise an Adult: Break Free of the Overparenting Trap and Prepare Your Kid for Success, authored by Julie Lithcott-Haynes. It talks about letting children explore things and try things, about the undeniable fact that failure is a critically important part of life, and that learning to respond to failure in a constructive way is crucial to our emotional and intellectual well-being, as well as our general success as adults. Children and young adults ought to learn about responsibilities and the consequences of not attending to them. Young adults must be given a safe space in which to learn about things like keeping a clean home, making healthy meals, not turning all their clothes pink with a stray red sock, balancing a checkbook, creating a budget, all of the skills that I got to learn really fast when I moved away to college. So I decided to become the world's worst father and make my kids learn how to do stuff around the house. Starting a few years ago, my kids started helping out with chores like doing the dishes, sweeping, mopping. Last year, it was decided that each person would do their own laundry in the house, and Sarah and Helena started making meals. We started early with cooking with a lot of ramen noodles and pancakes, but we have moved on to much more complicated things over the years. All I can really say is that at nearly 12 years old, my daughters know how to do a lot more than I did until I hit college age and started ruining omelets and nice clothing. But that's just a part of it. For reasons best left to another talk, schools have largely abandoned critical thinking skills in favor of the basic survival strategy inherent to education today: passing standardized tests. So we talk. We're fortunate enough to have a long car ride up to Geneva and back most weeks, where Emily and I have a captive audience. The girls get free rein to ask anything, and we fire back extending questions and encourage problem solving and brainstorming. Even with disagreements at home, we talk about how we're feeling and what led to the issue and what went wrong and how we can deal better with similar situations in the future. Random fact, when I want my kids to change a behavior, I have great success with threatening to have a nice long talk with them about what they're doing and why it would be better to change. Still, that does sometimes backfire, and I suddenly have to come up with a persuasive talk about why we need to rinse our dishes, or why it's better if we can see the floor of your room, or some such thing. But can I tell you a secret? I never read the book. But there are some lovely summaries of its contents available online. And when you have twins running around with little butterflies on them, as they do, and they're best to explore every little thing in their world, that was the best I could do at the time. What I can say is that the notion got me thinking, and I realized that I had been raised as a child. My parents called me kiddo well into my 30s. It sort of dawned on me that what I'm doing is helping to create adult members of society who will go out and live and love and work and who just might make a real difference in the world. No pressure. At the very least, they will undoubtedly be responsible for making a space for themselves and, in a sense, decorating it with their ideals and behaviors. Note the shift there from impacting the world with my ideals to their ideals and behaviors, because the time in which I have to support their growth is short, and in truth, all that I can do, and in my opinion, all that I should do, is make a structure in which they can grow. I can encourage them to grow a certain way and hope to impart on them a value for critical thinking, taking action for the betterment of society, and making the world a better place. Being desirous of promoting practical goodness in the world and of aiding each other in our moral and religious improvement. It's not just words. It's the framework and the foundation for our society. It's what drew me in when I first came here, and our covenant is the thing that motivates me to get involved and to do what I can for our church and our world. And I want my children to have every opportunity to grow up in this space with these people, and to either go out into the world and spread love and compassion with thought and action, or to stay here and help to grow our work. I'd better wrap this up, so I'll simply end this by saying that my own covenant of fatherhood drives me to support my children as they create themselves, and to guide them towards a path that I hope they will walk, not to dictate to them, but to surround them with well-meaning, critically thinking people of action in support of our faith, that this world can be better, that we are responsible for making it so. To that end, I raise my adults with love and care here at the Unitarian Universalist Society of Geneva. Thank you.
Visit us at uusg.org.